Welcome to A Course in Miracles, text chapter 20, a new beginning, which means something's coming to an end. And now we look at the fundamental problem with the world, and there's only one solution to all the problems in the world. And the solution to all problems in the world, the correction to all the problems in the world, is to be thyself knowingly. When you know yourself as that which is the Christ, all problems go away. In actual fact, you won't see problems. And this is the section that explains why you're still trapped in the seeming duality of a dreaming mind, when in actual fact, the mind is already awoken, as you've been taught. Fell asleep, woke up. It just recollecting its experience in what appeared to be space-time, where it manifested as matter. And it hasn't forgiven the dreaming of the dream yet. So the reality is that there's no longer a mind dreaming. There's an awake Son of God, the extension of the essence of God, recalling a memory that has actually never happened, that needs to be forgotten. Now, I'm using storytelling terms to explain something which is unexplainable. But this is all serving in the way that it brings us into awakened awareness. The highest form of teaching is silent stillness, abiding in gratitude. But words are required for those that cannot hear in silence. But in time, you will know that. Idols are quite specific, but your will is universal. That means that your will is not specific, and therefore is unlocalized, and therefore is impersonal. Because for something to be personal, there has to be the idea, the identification with a person. And so whenever the thought comes up and you want to ask a question, if you really want to move into the non-dual space, instead of looking for an answer to the question, move into silent stillness and gratitude. And the question will disappear. Because for everything you have a question, there's only one answer. Know yourself. Be yourself knowingly. So a little while ago, I asked you to think of some questions. And while you were engaged, you weren't thinking of questions. The minute I asked you to think of a question, your mind started scrambling. And it brought up whatever latent tendency, unforgiven thought, unrealized idea of fear pops up as a question. And all questions are in somehow disguised fear. Fear disguised as a question. Because it's always got to do with an activity that you've done or are going to do. Think about that. And so your will is universal, unlocalized, impersonal, and therefore limitless. The personal is never limitless. There's limits to the personal because the personal is an idol that you've manifested, you as the dreaming mind. But once you realize that that dreaming mind ceases to exist and you're the awakened essence, sun, essence, because God is pure light extending. And the sun is just a particle of light extending as God does. And within that particle of light, dreamt up an entire universe. The entire universe happens in a particle of light. I'm using symbology to explain the unexplainable. So realize that your will is universal and being limitless. And so it has no form. Can you ask of a question that does not involve form, and form acting in it some way? Nor is the content for its expression in terms of form. So content for expression does not come in. So I once told you that I used to ride motorcycles to derive joy and pleasure and activity from it. As I shifted, motorcycles became an expression of my beingness. Even that's fading, because the motorcycle still represented an expression of the idea. Even that's fading away. Motorcycles were originally idols. They then became a way of the expression, and even that is fading. Wearing a motorcycle jacket. Just climbed off a motorcycle half an hour ago. Idols are limits. So your body is a limit, and everything you see, which is an idol, the whole universe is an idol, is a limit on the internal limitless light, which is God. They are beliefs that there are forms that will bring happiness. And think of the forms: people, places, things, and events. And that, by limiting, is all attained. So there's certain forms that you think are going to make you happy: people, places, things, and events. It's as if you said, I have no need of everything being a part of everything. This little thing I want this little body, I want this little planet, I want this little life, I want these activities, I want. And it will be as if it is everything to me. And this must fail to satisfy, because it is your will that everything be yours. And that's why misappropriated ego wants more, 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 more. Because true spirit is continuously more, because it's continuously extending. Misappropriated, it's the accumulation of. And so it will fail. It must fail to satisfy. Decide for idols and you ask for loss. Loss of self, loss of the awareness of self, loss of the awareness that everything is in your mind, in your dreaming mind. Decide for truth, right-mindedness, and everything is yours. It is not form you seek. Explain love. And so what we do, though, is we say, I want someone to love me. I want someone to love. You ask for the form in order to get the effect. But actually, you're asking the effects to give you an effect. Because form is an effect of a dreaming mind. People, places, things, and events are effects of a filtered light, of filtered love. And now you're asking the filtered love, the effect, to provide you with an effect that you perceive will be achieved. And the reason you perceive it will be achieved because the essence of you already is that. And so you're hoping. There's an expectation because it's meant to be. But what's meant to be is the essence, and not the expectation on the effect. It's not the form you seek. What form can be a substitute for God the Father's love? Now, what is love in our understanding? It's definitely not attraction, desire, the want for, lust. It is the unconditional acceptance of everything as peace. Unconditional acceptance. But a form is an idol, it's a limitation. So when you ask for a form, you ask for a limitation to fulfill you from your limited understanding, from your limited experience. So you're asking for the effects of a limitation to affect you positively as a limitation. Do you realize the confusion of duality? What form can take the place of all the love in the divinity of God the Son, the divinity of you? What idol can make two of what is one? Who wants Who needs? The effect is asking for. Who searches for God? The effect, the identity, the ego. Ego is an effect of a sleeping mind, not remembering what it is. And yet there is no ego, because it's an illusion. It's an appearance of form. And if it's an appearance, it can't be real. And can the limitless be limited? No, it's why it's called limitless. You do not want an idol. It is not your will to have one. And be very careful, Course in Miracles students, teachers. The Course becomes an idol very quickly, because ego can misappropriate anything, especially spiritual realm, the spirituality realm. Don't want idols. You want to be yourself knowingly. You want to remember what you are. It's not your will to have an idol. It's not your will to have a body. It's your will to remember the essence of what you are. And nothing, including your body, will not bestow on you a gift you seek. When you decide upon the form of what you want, including people, places, things, and events, including ideas, enlightenment, spirituality, blah, 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 when all those things, you'll lose the understanding of its purpose. What is the purpose of this? What is the purpose of this? What's the purpose of this thing? "12 years of..." What's the purpose of this? Be yourself knowingly. Stop the search, be as you are. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Once you get that, if you really get that, what else is there? Let me ask you a question. In your opinion, if you think, let's just presume you think I am awake, do you think I have a responsibility unto you to now teach you what I have extended into the awareness? Do you think I am responsible to you, for you? And if you do, then you've misappropriated the understanding, and you think I'm some form of martyr that owes you something. As we move into non-dual space, and of course it's offensive. The ego is going to feel so offended now. You're going to abandon us. I'm not. There is no us. There's only I am. And even that's dissolving. Even the idea of saying I am is dissolving. There's not even I coming out anymore. It just wants to go still. So when you've decided upon the form of what you want, teacher, you'll understand, you'll lose the understanding of the purpose. It's tough. Non-duality can be offensive, very offensive to the ego. So you see your will within the idol. I've become an idol to you. I told you not to. Thus reducing it into a specific form. Tall, dark, and handsome, curly hair, rogue, mystic, biker dude. I am tall for a Portuguese. You're not a Portuguese, right? Yet this could never be your will. I'm not your will, nor is anything in this world. Because what shares in all creation cannot be content with small ideas and little things. And this is the one time where I'm okay being called little. So Lou, are you a medium? No, I'm a large. I thought you were psychic. I am, but aren't you a medium? No, I'm a large. It's all funny now. That's all just the Son of God remembers to laugh. Behind the search for every idol lies the yearning for completion. To know itself. To know itself is the extension of its source. To know itself, to know its source, to know what love is. Completion is knowing. And yet, here we move into the non-dual space. Radical non-duality. Be thyself knowingly. Who is there to know when there is no self anymore? There's just God. What is there to know when there's just God? So going into the non-dual space teaches for God. You don't make yourself popular, but you make yourself obsolete. And that's the greatest gift you give unto your students, because they no longer look to you, the idle identity of a teacher. They look within themselves. If they go searching for another teacher, it's because they're not ready yet. And that's okay. Another teacher will come at the level that they're ready to advance to. Or maybe they're not ready to advance and they want to hold and stay in the spiritual non-dualistic dualism of spirit, ego, body, mind, identity. And that's okay. Everybody will release this need to play at some stage. Wholeness, which is completion, has no form because it is unlimited. To seek a special person or a thing to add to you, to make yourself complete, Jerry Maguire, can only mean that you believe some form is missing. You complete me. No, you don't. I'm complete and so are you. Because we're the completion of God. And by this knowing, I remember myself, I remember my source, I remember my Father, I remember we are one. And there's not even a we anymore because you move into non-dual space. There's even no I. It's just. And by finding this, you will achieve completion in the form you like. So if you think that completion is going to, a form is going to complete you, by thy will, by thy egoic will, you'll find, and then it'll turn you upside down and drive you insane and hurt you in ways and press all your buttons. This is the purpose of an idol, that you will not look beyond it. You'll look to it for completion. People, places, things, events. Be careful that you don't turn this course into a cult. It's already happening. To the source of the belief that you are incomplete. The belief that you are incomplete makes for the idea of what will complete you. Only if you had sinned could this be so, and you cannot sin. For sin is an idea that you are alone and separated off from what is whole. And they sing those songs, I'm so lonely, all on my own, lonely, and what do we do when we're sad? We listen to lonely songs to make ourselves feel even smaller. Get out of it, expand, extend, Holy Son of God, extend to infinity and beyond. And thus it would be necessary for the search for wholeness to be made beyond the boundaries of limits on yourself. Because the minute you set an idea, it limits you. Don't. Empty the cup. Empty the cup. Let go of your teachers. Don't put them on a pedestal. The idea of Jesus has done more damage than the idea of Jesus, because it's bound people to a limiting idea that a deity beyond them did all these miracles and they could never, because they are mere mortals. The idea that you're a mere mortal is an illusionary bullshit concept. You are not mere nothing. You're certainly not mere mortal. A temporal, you don't change personality every time you change your outfit. Well, some people do, but the average person doesn't. It's just a garment you take out, and then if you haven't figured it out, you go to work the next day. You reincarnate the next day because you haven't figured it out yet. Once you've done it, once you've achieved whatever you wanted to achieve, once you've self-realized, what are you still going to do? This identity, this need for a projection dissolves, because the essence of it returns to the essence of the mind. And once the essence remembers itself, which it always does, and it's no longer got a filter called the body-mind identity, what's going to come back? And there is no coming back anyway, because it's already over. It is never the idol you want, but what you think it offers you, you want indeed and have the right to ask for. Because what is it that you think it offers you? What do you want anything for? You want to be happy. We spoke about it yesterday. You want to know yourself as peace, love, joy. That's what you want. So don't ask for people, places, things, and events. Ask Holy Spirit only to show you a new way to see it, because what you really want to do is to be happy. Don't be specific. Be impersonal. Be universal. You want to know yourself as you are, because you believe, you don't yet know, but you believe you are happiness. You believe you are the light. So ask to be shown. So don't say, I want to be X, Y, Z. I want to be shown. Show me another way to see. Go through that process. Go through those 4 steps we did yesterday. Nor could it be possible that it be denied. Why? Your will to be complete is but God's will. God's will is that which calls you. What does it call? It calls the illusion to dissolve, to become disillusioned with itself and what remains. When the garment gets taken off, when the cloak gets taken off, when the shield, when the veil unveils, what's left? The light. God called light. It's calling the light to return to itself. Your will be complete. Is but God's will calling you to complete itself. And this is given you by being his, because you're an extension of him. God knows not a form. You have no idea that you exist as a person. Point at yourself and go, I, whatever your name is, I, blah, blah, blah. God does not exist. The essence of you, spirit, the fractured, which returns to the awake mind, which was just a temporal delusion, is returning to God. God only knows the essence of what you are. He cannot answer you in terms that have no meaning. That's why people get so disillusioned. God, he didn't answer my prayers. He cannot answer your prayer. You're asking him to change the script that was written and is over. It's over. Ask him that you forget the damn script. That's all you need to do. You want to forget the script. I am so special. Forget me. Forget it. That's the prayer. Remind me what I am. Show me another way to see this, which means show me another way to remember I am. And your will could not be satisfied with empty forms, made to fill a gap that is not there. This body, mind, this entire universe is actually a gap in truth, for the truth is eternal light. It is not this you want. Creation gives no separate person and no separate thing the power to complete you, the Son of God. What idol can be called upon to give the Son of God what he already has? The eternal light of awareness. The eternal awareness of awareness, the eternal love, which is himself the love of God. He is the love of God. Completion is the function of God's Son. To know yourself as complete. He has no need to seek for it at all. Why are you sitting here listening to me? Because you're not aware you have it. But you have it. Or else you wouldn't be sitting here. It's the part of you that has it that got called to attend this teacher-student appearance, because you're as much as a teacher as I am. This is just one crazy, fucked up dude, okay, who was more lost than any of you ever can imagine you were, who got up to more chaos than any of you ever imagined is possible. This is the shit they make movies of, and not bestsellers either. So it's be yourself knowingly. You aren't. Beyond all idols stands his holy will to be but what he is. For more than whole is meaningless, and you are whole. And all you need to do is remember that you are. And since you can't remember, ask he who remembers for you, because he's the memory within you. He is the Holy Spirit. It is your true self. If there were changes in him, if he could be reduced to any form and limited to what is not in him, he would not be, you would not be as God created you. I'm not a body, I am free. I am still as God created me. I am spirit and I abide in God. God is spirit and abides in me. That's it. That's the truth. There's no more. Believe that, and only believe that. Abide in the silent stillness, and the truth will be made known, not in words, but in peace. Words are symbols twice removed. Peace is the sense awareness of what you are. What idol can he need to be himself? What is going to make you more you? Yesterday I was wearing a suit, today I'm wearing a biker jacket. Depends where I go. People look at me really strange, or they look at me with a smile. It just depends. It's just, this is the garment, the body-mind garment, any different to, or can you give a part of him away? Can you? Can you forget what you are? What is not whole cannot make whole. But what is really asked for cannot be denied. Teacher for God, your will is granted. It doesn't mean that it's going to appear easy. If this course is easy, you're not doing it right. If this course is not pressing every fucking button in your illusionary body-mind identity, you haven't emptied your cup. It's meant to drive you insane, because it's driving your ego to insanity that it will eventually implode, dissolve, disappear. Didn't exist. You're not going to whisk it away with the feather of an angel. Angels don't quite enjoy you plucking their feathers. Not in any form that would content you not, but in the whole completely lovely thought that God holds of you. Your will is granted, not in form, but in the essence of what you are. The Son awakening unto himself, letting go of his projected body-mind characters in his holographic universe dream. Those characters need to dissolve for the Son to awakening. You need to cease to exist in form, to know yourself as that which is the Holy Son of God. But the script is written, so don't hurry it up. It is going to happen when it's going to happen. Suicide's not an option. You come straight back. Nothing that God knows not exists. He doesn't know this exists. He knows the essence of it, because the essence of it is the extension of God. And what he knows exists forever, changelessly. I am spirit, and so is my Father. For thoughts endure as long as the mind that thought of them. So in God's mind, I endure, the I am, the self, the Christ endures forever. And in the mind of the ego, the thought form endures for as long as the mind of the ego is still around. Once the mind of the ego dissolves, what happens to the thought form? Feather, silence. Little feather. It's gone. He's gone. He's going through the door. And in the mind of God, there is no ending, nor a time in which his thoughts were absent or could suffer change. You who are a thought in God's mind, a thought of love, unconditional in God's mind, you've never changed. What are you hanging on to this physicality for? Let it go. Thoughts are not born and cannot die. They're eternal in God's mind. What's eternal doesn't have a beginning or an end. It's eternal. They share the attributes of their creator. That should be a capital C. Nor have they a separate life from his. So in the illusion, every thought, and therefore every thought form and every thought you think you have, is thought by that which is an illusionary thought called the ego thought, or a thought of fear. And they will exist for as long as the illusion of an ego exists, an illusion, an appearance of an ego. But it appears, it isn't real. But in God's mind, that thought lasts, exists forever, eternity, in the eternal now, because it's always now in God. The thoughts you think are in your mind, or in the dreaming mind, as you are in the mind which thought of you. You've never left the mind, God's mind. And so there are no separate parts in what exists within God's mind. There's one sun, and that one sun is dreaming itself fractured. It is forever one, eternally united and at peace. Who's asking questions now? Only that which isn't at peace. Is it then a true question? Is it even is it even real? Thoughts seem to come and go. Because thoughts, what you think is a thought, is an interruption of continuous awareness. Filtered through the body-mind identity, awareness comes across as thoughts. And that's why inspiration comes as the thought, because it's the extension of awareness. Inspired awareness comes through as you think inspired thoughts. But those of you that have got that creativity that flows, you don't think at first, it just flows. It's almost as if the thought comes afterwards. Yet all this means is that you are sometimes aware of them, and sometimes you're just asleep. An unremembered thought is born again to you when it returns to your awareness. And if it returns to awareness, that thought must be real. Yet it did not die when you forgot it, because it cannot, because it is you. It was always there, but you were unaware of it. The thought God holds of you is perfectly unchanged, regardless of your forgetting. It will always be exactly as it was before time, that time when you forgot, because there is no time, so you can't forget. You just think you have. And it will be the same when you remember. Remember the word remember? When you return and become a member of God again, a member. So to remember is to return to what you've always been a part of. And it is the same within the interval when you forgot. So what is this interval? A gap in a billionth of a second, a gazillionth of a second. The thoughts of God, thoughts, the sun is the thought, are far beyond all change and shine forever as the extension of God's light. They await not birth, they wait for welcome and remembering. That's all you need to do. Remember, be thyself. And that's the only prayer you can have. Holy Spirit, remind me of what I am. Show me another way to see this. That's the only prayer. You don't ask for things, places, events, effects. You ask to know, to be thyself knowingly. The only answer to the world. Be thyself knowingly. The thought God holds of you is like a star, unchangeable, and in an eternal sky. So high in heaven, it is set that those outside heaven know not it is there. And who could be outside heaven? Nothing. So who's going to know it? Nobody. Yet still and white and lovely, it will shine through all eternity. There was no time it was not there, no instant when its light grew dimmer or less perfect, or ever was less perfect. Perfect, ever less. You're perfect. Remember, you are. Who knows the Father knows this light, because who knows the Father knows himself. For he is the eternal sky that holds it safe, forever lifted up and anchored sure. Its perfect purity does not depend on whether it's seen on earth or not. The sky embraces it and softly holds it in perfect place, which is as far from the earth as the earth is from heaven. How far is the sky from you? It starts right here. It's right here. It starts and continues forever. You are in touch with everything in the universe because space and distance has still got air between. And so everything's connected, everything. In the dual illusion, everything's still connected. Even in duality, everything is connected, the butterfly effect. God is as far from you as you are from your heart. It is not the distance nor the time that keeps the star invisible to earth, but those who seek for idol cannot know the star is there because they look somewhere else. They look in the darkness for where the light should be, not realizing in the darkness is an illusion. They've closed their eyes. They're in the light, not seeing the light. Just open your eyes, Holy Son of God, and remember where you are. You've never left the kingdom. What you're searching for? You're searching for things that cannot remind you of the kingdom. Look within. And how do you look within? What's this look within, Lou? How do I look within? Well, you get a knife and you chop yourself open and you look at your heart beating. Very quickly, you'll figure out. I promise you. Chop your chest open and very quickly, you'll know God. Just be quiet. Just be quiet. Just be still and know I am. I don't know if that works in modern day. The millennials get the be quiet story, but you need to tell them to shut the fuck up. Will that work? So if Jesus walked around today, would he walk around going, shut the fuck up and know yourself? Thank goodness there's no hell. I'm going to go straight there now. Zap. Just be thyself. Just be yourself. With all your quirks and pains and bodies and blah, blah, and all your issues, just be yourself. Doesn't matter anyway. But if you want to stop suffering, if you want to stop crying, if you want to stop whatever you want to stop, go be still. Go be still. Go be still. Be still and know. Abide. Gratitude. Stillness. Gratitude. See what happens. Don't believe me. Like I say, try a little bit of each day. And even that will fade. You won't have to. I certainly don't. Don't tell anyone. I don't meditate. Woo, I don't. I never really have. Not really. I've given meditation classes, but I personally have not even. I just abide in silent stillness. It's wonderful. I'm not married, so there's nobody yakking. I don't have kids, so there's no one screaming. Cats aren't very noisy. So, motorcycles don't make a noise unless you start them. So I live on the mountain. It's pretty cool. Always live on the mountain. God always comes to someone on a mountain. Don't have to go there with tablets. Nowadays, tablets you can put in your back pocket. So it's not too difficult. 10 commandments. Maybe there's just 2 now. Be thyself knowingly and love everyone as you love yourself. And do it without asking for money, because then you've just turned it into a cult. But that's just my body, mind, resonance opinion. You may have your own. Charge as much as you like. As long as you don't feel guilty. Beyond all idols is the thought. There's thought, that's you. God holds of you. You are thought, capital T. You are in God's mind, Holy Son, completely unaffected by the turmoil and terror of this world. You're above the battlefield. Now, don't get to the above the battlefield. Now, you'll see the makeup of the battlefield. A lot of students do this. They figure out the battlefield. Ooh, look at me, soaring like Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I want to be a falcon. I want to be a hawk. So wings down and now you hoy towards the earth. Careful you don't turn into a phoenix, because you know what happens to the phoenix when it hit the ground, right? Spontaneous combustion. So careful now. Now, what does the phoenix above the battlefield that Mr. Livingston do? He now wants to go down and sort out the battlefield and see, look at this political situation, and that president, and this economic review, and that poverty, and these animals, and these forests. What have you just done? You've just figured it out. Now you think you know better. Don't think when you're above the battlefield. Just use the wind and just use the updrafts and just abide. Don't go to the above the battlefield and now you've inspected from above, and now you're going to come swooping down like a golden angel to sort out the battlefield. Someone's going to put a spear through your bumper. Don't go there. They don't see you for what you think you are. They'll never know you. Rise above the battlefield, close your eyes, and soar in silent stillness. Don't get caught by the turmoil and terror of the world, the dreams of birth and death that here are dreamed, the myriads of forms, 8 billion on this planet, that fear can take, 8 billion forms of fear, quite undisturbed. The thought of God holds of you remains exactly as it always are. You are my perfect son, eternally part of me, eternally extending the light of awareness, permanently extending the light which is love, the light which is God. Surrounded by a stillness so complete, no sound of battle could come remotely near. It rests in certainty and perfect peace. Here is your one reality kept safe, completely unaware of all the world that worships idols, and that God knows and that knows not God. Because to know God is to know thyself, and to know thyself is not to partake in this world. Of course, you're still here, but you'll show up spontaneously and you will serve what? Yourself. Into what? The rest of yourselves. How? However it shows up for you. Don't prescribe it. You don't have to be a spiritual teacher. That's the last thing God needs. Another spiritual teacher, another mystic, another minister, another reborn, another whatever the fuck. Don't. Please don't. Just go and be an accountant. Go be one happy accountant. Go work in the stock exchange. Go be a happy stock exchanger. Go do whatever. Just please don't become another spiritual teacher. There's just enough bliss bunnies lost in fucking translation out there. Please don't do that. Please don't. Unless it means you leave me alone for a while. Then in which case do. In perfect sureness of its changelessness and of its rest in its eternal home. The thought God holds of you has never left the mind of its creator, whom it knows, as its creator knows that it is there. You've never left. What are you worrying about? If you fuck it up properly in this lifetime, it's okay. You haven't left God's mind. It's okay. You want to cry until the cows come and cry. You want to snort shit up your nose until it explodes? Snort. If you want to race your motorcycle at 300 k's an hour down the highway with peak hour traffic with the cops chasing you, go for it. You want to get up to all sorts of shit, eat, shag, pray, would go. Or do you want to have peace? If that's what you want, then stop listening to me, stop listening to everybody, and instead of listening to me, go and be quiet. Go find yourself in silent stillness. One more week of this. And then go find yourself in silent stillness. Go abide. I say one more week because there's still a little few things the course is trying to share with you so that when you find yourself wondering whether you should be a seagull or diving down like a falcon, what you should consider before you dive. Where could the thought God holds of you exist but where you are? You're always in God. Is your reality a thing apart from you? And in a world which your reality knows nothing of? Your reality is your illusion. It's your perception of yourself. When you know yourself in another way, in the right way, what happens to your perception of yourself? It changes in accordance with how you either perceive or either know yourself. Perceive wrong-minded, know right-minded. Once you right-mindedly know what you are, what happens to your illusion perception? It becomes a reflection of your right-minded knowing. But while you're trapped in your delusion of what you are separated from, in your wrong mind, what does the world show you? The delusion of the wrong mind. Outside you, there is no eternal sky, no changeless star, and no reality. See how it's contradicting itself based on what it said? Because it's now bringing you into a complete non-dual understanding. So it sets you up to burn away the idea. The mind of heaven's son, you. In heaven is, you've never left, for there the mind of the Father and the Son joined in creation. which can have no end. True creation, not this creation called the universe, not this nonsense, planets and stars and going around the sun. Star trekking across the universe, only going forward because we can't find reverse. Can't go back. Go in. Go silent. Yes, Mr. Kirk, you too. You have not two realities, but one. You either know God or you know nothing. Nor can you be aware of more than one. There's God or there's nothing else. An idol, an illusion, or the thought God holds of you is your reality. Do you want to know God or do you want a special love relationship? Do you want to know God or do you want to create a wonderful career? Once you know God, you'll be amazed. You might get the relationship and you will most definitely get a career because God calls you to serve through your passionate, talented nature. And you could very likely get the perfect partner too, because when you're in that state of perfection, God is going to send you a mirror. So don't become too perfect because there's not too many perfect people out there. But then again, what do I know? Forget not then that idols, people, places, things, and events must keep hidden what you are, the Holy Son of God, the essence of, the extension of God's light, the rays that extend forever as the love, the peace, the joy of that which is truth. The rest is an illusion. Not from the mind of God, because God knows you as the extension of himself, but from your own, because you think you're dreaming and you know not what you are. The star that shines still, the sky has never changed, but you, the Holy Son of God himself, are unaware of your reality and God. Solution to the world? Be thyself knowing. How do you do that? Forgive. Whatever thing triggers you, forgive, forgive, forgive. And abide in silent stillness. Abide and extend the gratitude. Abide. Thoughts come, abide. Silent stillness. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. True self-inquiry. Who's the self you're going to inquire on? To whom do these thoughts appear? Who's asking the question? I tricked you. And eventually you'll stop. Eventually it's not who's asking the question, to whom is the question appearing? Who am I? Who's asking? Eventually it's abide. Thought comes. Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane gets tempted by the devil. So the devil walked up to him. She was wearing this really nice sparkly red dress, stilettos, La Perla underwear, head all done up by Gucci and Cabana, and wearing this latest perfume. And she walked up to Jesus and said, but Jesus, you're the Son of God. I'll give you the whole universe. Why don't you call on your angels? And Jesus said, hey, bitch, get the fuck away from me. That's what he said. Thoughts, piss off. Just piss off. No, not entertaining. And try and be Jesus. And try and be spiritual. And blow hot air up your spiritual ass. Be thyself knowingly. This dude isn't spiritual. And the awakenings come. The awareness of awareness has come. So if I can, you can. If this can, you can. All these degrees, all these doctorates, all this studying, what the hell was that for? To make myself, don't go into there. Don't just to trap myself in identity, to trap myself in understandings of the world. Why? What's meant to be came our way. Who would have thought bionutrition? Here I am serving joyously. I'm watching my two partners joyously serve. Returning to themselves. What am I doing? Nothing. I just show up. I'm nothing. There's nothing to fix. It fixes itself. Just show up. Hold the mind. Hold God. Hold spirit. Hold spirit. Where are you holding spirit? It's within yourself. Just be there. Show up. Serve. And beyond their wildest dreams will be given them. Beyond their wildest dreams. Why? Because dreams are idols. And when you let go and you surrender and you allow God to serve through his servants, seek ye first the kingdom, all else shall be given you. What's all else? Don't even worry about it. What's next? Don't worry. Who's worrying? Where's next? Be here now. Abide, be still, and know thyself, Holy Son of God. Your destiny, you've achieved. You've arrived. Just remember, return, become a part of, become a member of that which you've always been. How do you do that? Silent stillness, abidance, gratitude. No thoughts, no question. Be still. And know only God is real. Thank you.